So let's bring Talena Handley on, founder of Girlie Garage. She launched Girlie Garage with a mission for women to learn something useful while having amazing, meaningful experience and leaving feeling empowered. Talena, tell us more about you.
Hey, ladies. Hopefully my audio is good for you.
Sounds
Yes.
great.
Awesome. I was listening to India, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm so honored to follow her because she's so inspiring, and everything she said actually rings true for me too. So I hope everybody caught that because wow, she had a lot of good nuggets. Um, so yeah, I started Girly Garage because I didn't trust anybody. So my car was stolen, my very first car, Honda Civic, stolen twice. And after it was stolen, I literally just didn't trust anybody to help me put it back together, especially my ex. So I put myself through automotive school. I never wanted to become like a traditional mechanic. And I didn't realize that there's so many cool things that you can do with a hard skill. So the hard skill is having the knowledge of taking things apart and putting them back together. Now, a lot of people don't like this, but I do compare this to baking. Do either of you do any baking?
Some.
Yep.
Okay, well, if you can follow a recipe, you can fix a car.
No.
It's about having the right tools. So you have measuring cups, you have, a whisk, you have the right size bowls. It's the same thing with a car. You have all of the tools you need. And then a lot of times your service manual has step-by-step instructions and pictures. So there's a lot of things that are so scary about these giant machines that we climb into. And the scary part is that we don't necessarily trust them, right? If we don't know enough about this machine that we carry ourselves, we carry our kids, we run around down the freeway at 80 miles an hour. Like if you don't trust that, then there's a piece of you that is sort of uneasy every single day. And so that's how I got my start in Girly Garage. Is I launched this business because I knew my friends were getting taken advantage of and I wanted to do something about it.
That is amazing. I love that. Before I left for college, which I went to college a long time ago, ladies. So I drove. So long story short, I ended up going to Arkansas State for my last year. And I was driving there, right? So my dad, I already knew how to like change a tire, oil change and all that, but he gave me like a refresher course, right? Because I'm driving, how many miles, 3 days basically out to Arkansas from San Diego. And so I think it's really important. And I don't think it's something that we do these days. I don't think we teach our boys that or our girls that. And, my dad made sure that all of us, I have a brother and a sister, that we all could change our tire, know that we need an oil change, check the oil, make sure the tires are good, all those things. So how do you think that we could get back to being a little bit more on the mechanical side of things?
You bring up such a good point because there's like this period in our lives, right? That if you had the chance to learn, or maybe you had a parent teach you, then you have that under your belt, right? But there's like this weird point where it's like, oh, we stepped off into adulthood and we don't have those skills. How do we now gain them? Because they're even more important when we start to have kids of our own, or when we start to, venture off to college, like whatever that looks like. And I feel like it's hard for us to commit to something that's like 16 weeks. So in, a continuing education program. But if you can find something that takes a day or maybe a week, or in my case, 3 hours, then that's something that you can totally feel more confident with and also find those skills. Now, there's so much, like India was saying, there's so much free content out there. The hard part is making sure that you're verifying your resource, basically, like what they taught us in school, right? Make sure that you understand your source. So you need to make sure that if you're getting that information, that you're getting it from somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, who is trained, and so that you don't get injured, so that you don't put yourself in a sticky situation. So I would definitely recommend starting with what's free. I mean, I call it YouTube Academy. I think other people use that term as well. But there's so much good stuff on there that, I mean, I have a channel as well, but that's something that people can totally do to better themselves, as well as find other resources that might kind of click for them. It's like finding your yoga teacher, right?
Yeah. And something that came up in my life that I didn't even think about, because growing up, we had a house, we could work in our garage or in our driveway. But then when I got married, we had a complex that you weren't allowed to work in your carport area. So when it comes to those things, and then it's like, okay, well, I have to take it to a mechanic. Is there another option for people?
Yeah, that's a great question because I'm a mobile mechanic as well, and I can't work in apartment complexes. But you know how you got to the apartment complex, you drove in and there was like a side street? That's perfectly safe. So let's say that you needed to check or change your engine air filter, which is one of our most commonly upsold items. So that's one of those items that when you go to get your oil changed, they sell you something else, so upsold. And that's something where you can save yourself the most money every single year. Now that they're not going to catch you, it takes you 5 minutes and no tools to do in your carport. But if you needed to do something more excessive and you wanted to tackle it yourself, you can definitely do that on a street. You could do it in the back of a Walmart parking lot. Like nobody cares. There's so much space out there. Home Depot parking lots are great. Yeah, there's space. We live in cities. We live in a very big concrete jungle. So there is room to do that if you so desire.
So, what was some of the biggest challenges you faced as a female entrepreneur in this very male dominated industry, right? What would you say you had to overcome?
God, everybody asks me that. I think it's so funny because everybody's like, oh, male dominated industry. How do you survive? I think just like everybody else, you're overcoming obstacles when you first get started, right? And then there's a point where you just speak the language, right? So when you speak the language, you're becoming and showing up to be your best authentic person. Oh, there it is again. India said it's so true. You have to be your authentic self, and you also have to just be the best you possibly can. I have never had a problem with anybody else in the industry when I know my stuff. And that's the thing, right? If I don't know my stuff, I say that too. I'm like, hey, like I'm not quite sure about this specific task. Would you like to lend your wisdom? Or maybe I'm not comfortable doing this. Let's hand that off to somebody else. And I think that honesty with myself as well as with my customer is what really builds. And I've never had a problem with men. Mostly men in my industry are male allies. And so they're the ones that want to help lift women up. They want to support women. They understand that there is a problem and that we're overcoming it. There are definitely still scavengers out there. There's still people who will take advantage. And that's why we need to educate ourselves so that we can go find the good guys and support them.
Yeah, something India talked about too is that people can feel when you're not being authentic. So I like that you just say like, "Hey, I don't know this. I either need a resource or can you be my resource?" And Holly and I have also, I mean, we're in a typically male dominated industry, but something we or I learned at our conference, one of the vendors that we work with, their agents, 52, I think 55, 52% of them are female now. And
Yeah.
so once we empower women to live authentically and to walk a path that they're passionate in, it gives them the opportunity to thrive in that. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Women don't really think about the fact that they can be really skilled in this industry. If you want to be a mechanic, these tools right here are something you can't pay for. You're smaller, you're more agile, you can get into places. Like cars are so compact nowadays because there's so much plastic. But there's so many other jobs that if you don't want to use your hands necessarily, you can also use your brain. So you can work in racing, you can work in administrative, you can work in the back end where there's accounting and controlling of, large businesses like dealerships. You could be a service manager. There's so many cool jobs in automotive that if you just put your foot in the door with some basic knowledge or YouTube Academy, that there's a chance that you can do something that you're really passionate about.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, we do talk about even one of the questions that we didn't get to with India talked about the media industry being male dominated. And really, I mean, of course, everything is going to be male dominated because we haven't even started being able to own our own business or have a checking account. We've only been able to do that for 52 years. So it's the evolution of what's coming. So that's one of my goals, is to eliminate the fact that we even have to say male dominated industry. We just say this is the industry and these are the women and men that work in this industry, right?
100%.
So I understand that when you started your business, you were able to utilize grants and other types of funding sources to build your business. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, especially for anybody who's a small business or an entrepreneur who's watching this right now. My business is 100% bootstrapped until this last year where I got my first big grant. And bootstrapping is hard. Every cent that you make is either feeding you or going back into your business. And you might not look at it like that, but it's like, oh, I bought a new tool today. And you're like, oh, it was $25. But like, then you do that 5 times and you're like, oh, okay, eating this week becomes harder. So there's so much that goes into that you maybe don't prepare for, but also you are so prepared for, because your passion is what drives that. And when you're doing something that's solving a problem for people, that I don't advertise at all. People just bang down my door. They understand the value of knowledge, something that people can't take away from them. And that's going to save them money for the rest of their lives. So I recently applied. I apply all the time to grants. Like, friends send them to me. I'm subscribed to multiple newsletters. I think that's super helpful. Some of my favorites, if it's helpful for anybody, is I really like Hello Alice. They do a really good job with like what's coming up for grants and tell you which kind of businesses can apply for them. I really like the Chamber of Commerce. They have a national Chamber of Commerce. I think their newsletter is just called CO. That also has really good like grants and funds that are available for people. The nice thing about grants is you don't have to pay them back. So I did win a pretty large grant, which in my opinion it was $25,000. And that is open to female founders in the US. I believe their application is opening again this summer. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It was called I Fund Women. And that was a really good platform. It's also a crowdfunding platform. So I did some crowdfunding after I won the grant as well, which is another cool way. I know a lot of people maybe know of GoFundMe. GoFundMe is a way to crowdfund. I Fund Women, that platform doesn't take the fees from you like GoFundMe would. So basically you get the money that you get from your donor. I think that those are really they're helpful ways to gain money because the people that believe in you are donating to the cause. I have some less traditional ways that I also make money. I do a lot of affiliate marketing. I also and I only do affiliate marketing with things I believe in, because goodness gracious, don't try to sell something you don't believe in.
That's going back to authenticity.
Yes. Well, I mean, like, especially on the screen, like people can really tell. They're like, this person is peddling garbage. Like, so yeah, I do that. And then I also have like Patreon and things like that set up so that if people are really getting something from like my YouTube channel, they can go on and, donate like a $5 cup of coffee once a month, basically. And then that way that really helps creators continue to keep that content free for everybody. So those are some sort of non-traditional ways that I have kept my business bootstrapped. Applying for grants has become a lot less like difficult from a small business perspective. So when you find those applications, just set aside 20 or 30 minutes. All the answers are already in your head on how to answer every single question in there. And so it's like, when you're a small business, just do it. You never know when a big one's going to come through or when $1,000 will come through. That's That's a lot of money for a small business.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's so many good nuggets in there, and we're definitely going to chop that up so people can get those resources and also put them in the show notes. So, because that's so good, and small businesses just need that type of funding when they're just getting started. And now I believe we met around COVID online.
Yes, we did.
And ever since then, I have been watching your content. I love it. It's funny. Sometimes you've got serious content, and sometimes I'm like, I didn't even think about that. I was just telling them about the bag situation and having your windows unrolled.
Yeah.
So talking about content and collaboration, how do you work with other women within your industry or within the community to empower each other, and why is that important to you?
I mean, but I feel like everybody had an immediate answer when you asked that, right? Like your internals were just like, because we're women, like a rising tide lifts all boats. We understand that. I didn't really realize that I was an educator until like I started my business. So I would be fixing a car and the customer would be standing over my shoulder, which in school, when I was in automotive school, that was terrifying for me. But now I'm just like, I would be talking to myself anyway. So now I'm talking to them. They're learning some cool stuff. If they're comfortable, I just let them throw some gloves on and help and get dirty. And that is, I mean, I helped a woman last week. She was like, I now understand how my brakes work so that I can understand if something fails, how to really either diagnose it, understand if it's a major or a minor concern. Like, do I need to pull over and stop driving right now? Or can I make it home safely and make an appointment? Like, that's a huge concern. Tire pressure. Not only are we paying exorbitant prices for fuel in Southern California, but if you have the correct tire pressure, you're getting better gas mileage, you're safer on the road. The way that your car handles is much safer. That actually makes our communities safer. Because think about it, mom down the streets driving in and out 3-4 times a day, picking up groceries, picking up kids, going to work. If they don't have the correct tire pressure and they need to slam on the brakes, they are not going to be able to stop in the way that they need to. So building my communities up through knowledge so that they can take that knowledge and maybe tell their neighbor about it or tell the other new moms in their mom group about it. That is why I lift up people while I'm teaching or while I'm working. I've had a chance to use social media to connect with women all across the nation because there's so few women in automotive. There's literally about 19,000 women who are trained automotive technicians in a country of 350 million.
Wow.
So it's a pretty small knit group. That doesn't include people who are like in racing, because there's a lot of female racers and they're badass. But specifically mechanics. And I've had a chance to connect with them both on social media and in real life. And I've never met anybody who is so competitive that they're like, nope, not going to help you. And that's actually how you and I met, because I think I reached out and I was like, hey, do you want to do this fun like collaboration reel? I'm going to toss you a wrench and you're going to toss it to the next person. And then we all became friends after that, which was so cool.
Yes, I remember that.
It was really good. Cool. It turned out so good.
It did. It was really fun to collaborate with a bunch of women who I've never met before, and to just see like different personalities and styles. And like you said, it's not a competition. It wasn't like who did it better. Mm-hmm. It was like we all just came together to create this fun video, and it empowered all of us. And I'm sure it empowered other people to be like, oh, wow, these women, they're holding tools, they're getting dirty. I think I had just changed my oil. So it was really fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Talena, can you tell us a little bit about, or can you tell our listeners a little bit about why it's important to drive safely when it very first starts raining? Now, I know the answer to this, but I was in a group of women recently and they did not. So can you just share that? Because it is almost spring most places, and that's when we usually get a few showers.
Yeah,
That
well,
was
it actually dumped rain in Southern California for the last couple days. And the thing about that is that I've done lots of videos specifically on tires, tires, tires. And this is something that I teach a lot of. Now, let me just ask the two of you, why are our tires important?
because they're the foundation of the vehicle. They hold us up
They
everywhere
are
we go.
yes, they're the only thing connecting you to the road.
Right.
So we need a couple things out of them. Number one, we need correct tire pressure. Number two, we need tread. Now, our tread is super important because not only does it connect us to the road and create that friction, but if you don't have enough tread, enough thickness of tread, it does not have the ability to push water away from your car. So there's a penny trick. I'm sure everybody's kind of heard of the penny trick. It lives in the back of your mind. People don't really know what it means. You take Abraham Lincoln, you turn him upside down. If you can see his hair, then you do not have enough tread on your tires to push water away from your car. Now, all of our tires also have a tread wear indicator built into them, unless you have big, like knobby truck or Jeep tires. And that tread wear indicator, when the tire becomes flush, so when the tread wears down to that indicator and it becomes flush, then it is time to change those tires. So it's super important because not only can you have bald tires that you maybe didn't know about, but all of the things that drip off of your car and collect over time make the road much more slippery when it first rains. So when you're driving, there's a couple things you can do to protect yourself. You can drive behind another vehicle who's splashing water out of the way, drive in their tire tracks. You can avoid the outermost lanes because the water pools there the most. Definitely check your tires before you drive. Like maybe make a decision like, oh, I have somewhere really important to go, but I have bald tires. Do you want to make it there in one piece or do you want to maybe reschedule? So there's a lot of things that happen to like, and I mean, that was 3.5 minutes of knowledge that's probably going to save at least 50 people.
Absolutely. I mean, I was really looking at the fact that, our roads are made of tar, then they put oil over it. And then all that junk that comes out of your car over time, think of all the hundreds of thousands of cars that are driving on the road, right? And that's why it makes it slick when it rains, because there's a lot of oil on the road as well. But yes, definitely the tires are the reason why we want to make sure that we have great tires. I love that. So another question that I have is about women that are aspiring entrepreneurs. What kind of advice would you give to women that are just starting their journey?
I feel like you need to really think through, are you actually solving a problem? That's something that I try and give all aspiring entrepreneurs, because you could just think, oh, like this would be really cool to have. But are you solving a problem? Do you have a business? And you might not be solving a problem for millions of people, but maybe you're solving a problem like India was saying for that niche. Maybe you're solving a problem for 100,000 people. That is still a viable business as long as you have repeat customers. So I would say make sure you have a problem, and also make sure that you're, again, not peddling garbage. So whatever your solution is, like make it something that's going to last. People are so sick of buying something that breaks or buying something that feels so cheap. Like we're ready to go back to not having everything made out of plastic and ready to like learn how to repair rather than replace. So make something that's quality as far as your solution.
So, Talena, you've given us some good nuggets today. How do people work with you? Can they work with you virtually? Do they work with you in person? How do people find you?
Well, so Girlie Garage is about to be a household name. You heard it here first. We are looking to expand into every major metropolitan city so that people can physically have that in-person experience of learning a workshop. I work with ages 6 all the way up to about 75. We have different content for different people to inspire you to know more about your vehicle or to think about a vehicle and how it works so that we can be better maintaining them. I do in person in San Diego. So if you are in Southern California, I do travel up to LA all the time. And then virtually, I have YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and Yeah, all of the things. I have all of the things. So I want to keep all of this content that I create for people free. I don't want to put it behind a paywall. I want this to be accessible. So I create bite-sized content. So something less than 10 minutes long, no fluff. And I loved how India was saying, like, when you make that connection, your audience is going to tell you what they want. And people love no fluff. We're so freaking busy. Like, teach me something so I can get out of here. Or like, I only have 5 minutes while I'm on the toilet. Like, teach me something cool. Like, like that's my space and time. So I really value that, and I try and keep it free for everybody. So YouTube and Instagram are my primaries. TikTok is kind of a fun platform.
So
Thank you.
I'm just popping that up while you continue to talk so that people can find you. I put your LinkedIn handle and your Instagram, and then they can also find you at Girlie Garage,
Yeah.
which I'm sure all of your links are on your website. But just wanted to flash that so people could see them. Take a picture.
I do a lot of mentorship for women in automotive. So if for any reason somebody is heading that direction and they have questions or they need an ally, please reach out, use the contact form, DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to help.
Well, also, we would love to have you on our podcast. Maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into Girlie Garage going nationwide in big metropolitan cities, because we might have some investors in our listening group. I mean, we did talk a little bit about how you might be funding some of that, but, if it's like a franchise model or whatever the case might be, we might have some resources for you in our group that can help you grow that along as well.
Yeah, and the people element as well. So it's always been one of my dreams to give good people jobs. And so I'm always looking for those people who maybe really understand the value of working for themselves and starting their own business, but don't want to go through the first, 5 years, which is the painful part. And that's who I want to be on my team, is like somebody who wants to give back to their communities.
I have a perfect person for you in Las Vegas.
Yes, I love it.
You need it too. Yes. Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.